before. So Diane is going to be practicing her speech tonight, and I'd like her to get a very warm welcome.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests. Tom, it's great to see you. When I was talking to Nancy about giving a few words at the fundraiser on Sunday, I said, I really appreciate what you're doing. It's in South Minneapolis, and we need to get this message outside of the metro, outside of Minneapolis and St. Paul. And lo and behold, I agreed to speak on Sunday. And when I think about speaking about the marriage amendment, part of me says, really? Are we still stuck on this whole gay marriage thing? I just can't believe it. Part of me just can't believe it. I turn on the news, and I see all kinds of things that we need to work on. And we're stuck on gay marriage? We can't get past this? What I'd really like to talk about is universal health care. People need to get health care. Honestly, whether this passes or not, our day-to-day lives are not going to change as a lesbian couple. We are still going to be doing what we do every single day. But in a very deep, deep way, if this passes, it will greatly affect us. It will greatly affect me. I will feel much more oppressed and much more marginalized than I ever have before. Even more, rather than spending time and energy to figure out how I can get her to eat her vegetables, I'm going to be worried about, is she going to be bullied at school? Or what happens if she's at the playground and she mentions that she has 2 mommies? That should not be things that we have to worry about today. And it's going to affect me here in Minneapolis, but even more so all of the GLBT families in outstate Minnesota. I want to make it clear to you that it's also going to affect you, each and every one of you. Because if we write this into our Constitution, it paves the way to write discrimination against you for however you are different into our Constitution. It tells bullies, whether adult bullies or student bullies, that it's okay to be mean to other people because they're different. That's what this law is about. And it's really time, I think, that all of us recognize the consequences of our actions. Every little thing we do has a rippling effect. Every time we're nice to somebody, that has a rippling effect. When we do something like change our Constitution to make discrimination legal, that has a rippling effect. So it's time to fight. We have 1 year to fight. And there's a couple of ideas I have for you. The first thing is it's great to fight here in Minneapolis and to fight in St. Paul. For the most part, people in Minneapolis, we're used to living and working with people who are different. So it's going to be an easier message, I think. But we need to take our message a little bit outside. We need to go west to Wayzata. We need to go south to Bloomington and Lakeville. We need to go north to Anoka. And we need to bring our message there. We can practice now, here, and then go out. But before too long, within a few weeks or a few months, we need to be talking to people who live outstate, within Minnesota, but in the far corners. We need to go down to Albert Lea and up to Duluth. We need to make sure that we have a voice in St. Cloud. And as we talk to people, we can talk to the gay people. It's like preaching to the choir. It's kind of fun. It's energizing. But it's not really going to make a difference. I'm pretty sure all the gay people in this room are going to be there to vote, and they're going to vote against the amendment. Who I want you to talk to are the people who are in the middle. If you talk to somebody who says, I hate gays, they should all go to hell, they're not worth your time either. For me, it would just be incredibly frustrating, and I just feel that much more crushed and hopeless to talk to them. So my efforts are to those of you in the room who are straight, not to Kim's parents, because they're probably already on board, but all of those other people in the middle. And I think there's a couple of things we can do when we talk to them. The first thing is we need to have very personal, one-on-one communications. The opposition is doing these mass communications. They're promoting fear and intolerance and all of these myths that just simply are not true to try to get people to vote for this. We need to keep it personal and authentic and tell our stories. That's the first thing. And we can do this when we talk to people one-on-one. We can do this, I'm looking at this crowd. There's some of you, I'm guessing, on Facebook. You can do this on Facebook. I just posted a message yesterday saying, I want people to vote for this. We can do this in text messages and emails, and very particularly during Thanksgiving dinner. I'm looking at a lot of people who probably celebrate Thanksgiving. Does anybody in here ever do the dishes at Thanksgiving? When you do the dishes, find a partner to do the dishes with you who is in that middle group. And hopefully somebody who does not live in Minneapolis or St. Paul or an immediate suburb. And say, let's do the dishes, I'll wash and you dry. And as you're doing the dishes, talk about the amendment. Listen to what they have to say, address their concerns, address their questions, and address their arguments. And at the end, with every one of these communications, get a promise from them. Can I get you to promise me that you will go to the polls and that you will vote against that amendment? Because if they promise you, they're going to take the time that day to go, and they're going to be thinking about you when it comes to that question, and they're going to check the box. They're going to check that box. That means standing by all of us to create peaceful and supportive communities. And as we have these one-on-one discussions, I think it's important to think about the opposition. So one of the things that people often say is, well, for religious reasons, they don't believe with gay marriage. My stepson could go toe-to-toe with anybody talking about the Bible. I can't do that. I'm not as learned in it. But I do know that the underlying message in the Bible is of compassion and love. So if we go back to the underlying message and realize that the Bible has been translated many times, and we can use words in the Bible to make any meaning, to go across any point we want, let's forget all that and go with the underlying message. Some people will say, well, I support families, so I oppose gay marriage because I support families. Again, this will not help any family in Minnesota if we change our constitution. It will hurt families. There are hundreds of children in Minnesota that are waiting to be adopted, and there are thousands of children in our foster care system. If we pass this law, it will make it harder for GLBT individuals and couples to parent and open their homes to these children. That will not help families. It will not help the families of young GLBT kids and young adults. As these kids grow up and they're kicked out of their communities, they're ostracized from their churches, and they're told by their families that we just don't understand, it creates incredible turmoil for them. And if we pass this law, more and more kids and young adults are going to be turning to drugs and alcohol. They're going to be finding themselves homeless. And I incredibly fear that more of these kids are going to kill themselves. This does not help Minnesota families. And again, it encourages bullying. So your kids, your grandkids, your nieces and nephews, your neighbors' kids, when they go to school and they're not wearing the right clothes, or their hair's not quite right, or their shoes aren't right, it's going to tell other kids that it's okay to treat them bad because they're different. This will not help families. The last opposition that I often hear is, I like you okay, and maybe for your family this makes sense, but I just don't agree with gay marriage. Well, first of all, this isn't about gay marriage, as I said now 5 times, right? But the second thing is, so what? If you don't like gay marriage, don't get married to a gay person. Tell your church that you don't want your church to sanction gay marriages. But that is not what this law is about. Okay? This law is not about, I like you, but I oppose gay marriage. And again, if we do this, if we put this in our Constitution, then sometime down the road, somebody will be able to vote against your human rights. In conclusion, again, I was really wanting all of you to stand with me, next to me on this side, next to me on this side so we can join hands and fight for not gay marriage, but collaborative and supportive communities. And I want to talk to the people who showed up in my neighborhood the week after the tornado and said, I don't know you, but I want to help. Those are the people that we're reaching out to. And if we pass this amendment, and this is written into our Constitution, I really think that my hope for humanity, for us to be able to build peaceful communities, to support and care for each other despite all of our difference, is going to be greatly diminished. Honestly, whether you vote or not, or how you vote or not, I believe in treating people with respect and dignity. And if your rights are ever up for a vote, no matter how you vote in a year, I will stand by you and I will vote for you.
But I was raised in a family where my youngest sister was disabled, and there was a tremendous amount of discrimination against her. And that changed my way of looking at life, actually. And so I've been trying to fight discrimination all my life. When Will and I got together, we're in our 26th year, I contacted my youngest sister, Janet was her name, and I said, I'm bringing home the man that I'm dating, and it's not just a friend, it's the man I'm dating. At the time, she was married to a gentleman that belonged to a very conservative church. And I said, may we stay with you? And she said no. And it was kind of the first time that I felt discriminated against in my own family, because my family had been very supportive. So that was a little bit tricky to take, although we were actually grateful we didn't stay with them. But when I got there, it was a family reunion, and when I got there, my mother said that she would like Will and I to come to her home, which was a different small little town in Iowa, and have Thanksgiving with them. And I said, but Mother, and she said, I want you to stay at our house. And I said, Mother, you don't have a large enough guest room. You only have a small little guest room with a single bed. And she said, oh, I know what it's all about. I'm going to go out and buy you a double bed. So that helped me believe that she didn't really know what it was all about. She was just thinking of the physical stuff. We spent, I couldn't agree with Diane more that it's in being who you are, no matter who you are, that tells the story. And the more we can connect with the people that are in that middle road ground and just be who we are. When Will and I went to get married in California, when we came back, we belonged to a very small Christian Science church, and it's about 70 people or so. The entire congregation threw us a party. So it was because they knew us and we knew them. And I just think that that's what you got to do. And that's why we're so very grateful to live here. We have a wonderful building that is very open, very affirming, very connected, and we are so grateful for that. So I just want to say that I'm so grateful for all the people that came today.
Wanna get married, gee, I really love you, and we ought to get married, going to the polls next year. Well, that was very good. All right, we're going to do it again, just to give you practice, and you could even, like, snap your fingers or clap if you wanted to. All right. Going to the polls 'cause we're gonna get married. Going to the polls 'cause we wanna get married. Gee, I really love you, and we ought to get married. Going to the polls next year. Okay, now this is the verse, and you don't have to learn this part. November's here and the sky is gray. We'll take the lead, we'll show the way for everyone who wants to say I do, and we'll never be lonely anymore, because we're going to the polls, 'cause we wanna get married. Going to the polls, 'cause we wanna get married. Gee, I really love you, and we ought to get married. Going to the polls next year. Thank you.
Finding somebody to be able to, share and have a life with. And he said, well, that's going to happen. It's just the picture may look a little different. And essentially that did happen. He's married to Gabe down there now. He's a student getting his master's. And he does have somebody to be able to spend the rest of his life with. Now my concern is where they're going to move after he finishes school. What is going to happen if he moves back up to Minnesota, or if he moves to any place other than the New England area or Iowa? What are his problems that he's going to have, as she was mentioning, with, if they adopt a child, caring for the child, health care insurance, if one of them gets sick, and on and on and on and on. All those things that we discriminate against in Minnesota. But anyway, that's really all I wanted to share is, I'm fortunate my son is married, and right now he's living in a state to recognize it, and they're doing all that things. But I guess I would like to see things get changed to where he could go anywhere in the United States and get the same recognition. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to just show you the mechanics here. Let's see if I can do it with one hand. Now you'll have two hands. Thank you. This is a lot easier. Okay, now I figured out that you can open this part. It goes like that. It goes like that. And then what you do, you fill in your name, address, phone number, email, and you're thinking, oh, why do I have to put that on there? Well, it's a good idea to put your email or your phone number on here, because a year from this day, when this election happens, you're going to need a reminder to vote. And I know you're thinking, oh, well, I don't need a reminder. I'm going to vote. Well, you're right. You don't need one, but everyone else in this room does. And I'm talking to those people. So that's why you put that in here. And then, odd little thing.
And in his article, he stated that if you abrogate the civil rights of one person, you open up the legal means of abrogating the rights of everyone. Do not allow this to happen. And I thought, my God, why didn't I think of that? He's absolutely right. And now, no matter whom, I will fight for the right of the Nazis to march. I might stand there and bellow, get the hell out of here, but I will fight for their right to march. I don't care what people think about gay marriage. You have the right to have a gay marriage. I don't want anybody's civil rights abrogated. And that's all I've got to say. Peace.
I certainly do support gay marriage, but overriding that in every way is the fact that I am very concerned about this amendment, because what I think it has to do with the potential for all of us to be less human, less loving, less caring. The minute we start to act in adversarial relationships with another human being, not only do we take away from them and create a more vulnerable situation, but we take away from ourselves. And I just really have big concerns about what as a culture we'll be doing to each and every one of us if we see this kind of amendment pass.
Anyway, get in there, do all these things. Don't say I'm too old, you haven't got time. You got time to do a lot of things. Don't let it stop. At 800 years, which sometimes feels like, it's important. You've got energy, you've got people to teach and to teach you, and get out there, work it, change the world, and do it now. You've got people to teach and to teach you, and get out there, work it, change the world, and do it now.